There we are. Nonetheless, let's get on with it. My name is Felicia Lockhart. Welcome to the Lockhart Radio Podcast. And today, the question we're asking is, has America lost control? Today, we're going to look at a couple of articles, but first, we're going to start in 2023 at Governor Huckabee out of Arkansas.
America and our allies. We know who our enemies are, not just Hamas and Hezbollah, but a regime in Iran that chants death to America, an authoritarian Russia, and a Chinese Communist Party whose stated goal is to defeat the United States at every turn. Yet for too long, in the name of tolerance, we've let these dangerous governments infiltrate our country. Arkansas will tolerate them no longer. Today, we are becoming the first state in the country to take an action like the one that we are announcing right now.
And so, what are we talking about with the question that we've posed? Has America lost control? What Huckabee is referring to is Syngenta, which is a company that had seeds. However, she's one of the first individuals who's actually taken the bull by the horns, and she decided to make sure that this Chinese company got out of her state. Even though she doesn't have any control over the country, she made sure that they got out of Arkansas. In 2023, Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders ordered the Chinese state-owned Syngenta to sell their 160 acres of farmland in Craighead County, Arkansas. The land was being used for agricultural research purposes by Syngenta Seeds. Now, they are owned by a company called Chem China, and it's a company that is tied to the Chinese Communist Party. Arkansas became the first United States state to force the sale of the farmland owned by the Chinese entity under state law. The governor cited national security concerns and a 2023 law, the 636. It was Act 636 there in Arkansas, which prohibits certain foreign entities from owning agricultural land and in their state. The Attorney General of Arkansas confirmed the land seizure, as you're going to see here in a moment, and they emphasize enforcement of the laws restricting adversarial foreign ownership. Now, this may appear to be an old story, and I'm glad I held off on telling you guys about it, which most of you probably already know since 2023, because what I am going to tell you about today should concern every single one of us as Americans. Let's get into the rest of this. We're also going to transition right over into her other people that are going to be speaking with her. Okay, let's go.
At the beginning of my term, my administration worked with our partners in the legislature to get hostile foreign entities out of Arkansas. I was proud to sign Act 636, sponsored by Senator Johnson and Representative Vaught, banning foreign parties from 9 enemy countries from owning agricultural land in Arkansas. And today, we are acting on that law. I'm announcing that Syngenta, a Chinese state-owned agrochemical company, must give up its land holdings in Arkansas. Syngenta owns 160 acres in Northeast Arkansas, which it uses primarily for seed research. The company that owns Syngenta, Chem China, is also on the Department of Defense's list of Chinese military companies posing a clear threat to our state. Seeds are technology. Chinese state-owned corporations filter that technology back to their homeland, stealing American research and telling our enemies how to target American farms. That is a clear threat to our national security and to our great farmers, especially since the Chinese government enacted a law in 2017 requiring Chinese citizens abroad to collaborate with their country's security officials on intelligence work with no questions asked. This isn't about where you're from. We welcome Chinese Americans, Russian Americans, and anyone else who's given up foreign oppression for American freedom. This is about where your loyalties lie. We simply cannot trust those who pledge allegiance to a hostile foreign power. That's why I signed Act 525, sponsored by Representative McKenzie and Senator Boyd, to ban Chinese and Russian-made drones. And it's why I signed Act 758, sponsored by Representative McAlinden and Senator Stubblefield, banning public contracts with the CCP. We will make sure that every company operating in Arkansas is a friend to Arkansas and good to hardworking Arkansans. Secretary Ward has already notified Syngenta about this decision. If they refuse to sell, our Attorney General can move forward with legal proceedings and force them to get out of our state. Arkansas will always protect our farmers and our national security interest. I want to thank our legislature for passing this common sense measure, and I want to thank the Department of Agriculture for working so hard on this issue. I will now turn it over to Attorney General Griffin to address his team's next steps. Thank you all.
Now, I'm very appreciative of what she did. Hello to everyone coming in the chat. Hey, Daryl. Hey, Standing. Hey, Carol. And hey, Alan. And everyone else who may be working and not able to actually chime in and say, hey, hello to you. All right. So when you heard what she said, I loved everything she said. I was appreciative of this entire thing when she made this known back in 2023. But once we listen to this gentleman, I'm going to come back and give you guys some statistics to let you know exactly how, I guess, a trend, what type of trendsetter she is. But here's the part that I really want you guys to understand. After we're done with this, I'm going to tell you how many more states that particular company is in. And then I'm also going to let you know who is sort of, I don't know, dancing with them that we've all sort of seen, I don't know, Smithers or Slither ring around. We'll see. Let's look.
Thank you all. I want to provide a little context here. I could tell you that the idea that the Chinese government would care about non-military assets is exactly what they've demonstrated over the last few decades. In fact, we had congressional hearings in the late 90s in Washington on dual-use technologies, civilian-related technologies that the Chinese were obtaining from the United States. There is nothing that's off limits for them if they think that it will strengthen them strategically, whether it be related to engineering or the ability to feed their people, which is a challenge for them. We've had some instances and some federal prosecutions in this state that relate to seed technology. And so for those of you who think that this is some sort of outlier, you're wrong. I've been in the military for almost 30 years, and I can tell you one of the consistent themes of the last decade at least has been warnings about the communist Chinese, what they will do and what they are doing. So this is smart and this is strategic. So let me tell you what my role here today is. I've written a letter, which I'll be sending today, to Northrop King, Seed, and Syngenta, informing them that they have to divest themselves of the land that they have in Craighead County. And they have 2 years, as of about a month ago, a little over a month ago, to do that. If they don't do that, then we could take legal action. I have no reason to believe that they won't do that. Also, back in 2021, the legislature, with very, very forward-looking, I will say, for the legislature to pass a law that requires these companies owned by foreign entities to file and disclose. And in this particular case, the disclosure, the ownership of this land could have been filed was June of last year. It was late. And so under that law, also I appreciate this, the AG can fine a civil penalty, can fine the company a civil penalty up to 25% maximum, doesn't have to be 25%, but up to 25% of the value of the property. The property in this case is $1.12 million, according to Syngenta's own federal filing. And so I am imposing the maximum fine of $280,000 on the company, and I am informing them of that in the letter as well. Thank you.
All right. So you see, they not only told them that they had to leave, that they had to, divest the property, do everything they needed to do, but they also imposed them another fine, which was a good thing. But I want to allow you to listen to this just for a second. I want you to listen to the next guy. Then after you listen to him, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions because I want to know what you're thinking as it relates to some of the other things that we have done here in the United States as it relates to China. We're not going to isolate any other country at this second, just China, because we'll deal with other countries as we go along throughout, the next few weeks or so. But I do want to focus in on China because I think that we've made a lot of boogeymen out of a lot of different countries. And then I'm looking at how we're sort of backpedaling. Even right now, as our seated president has decided, listen, I think we need China with regards to this copper mine out here in Arizona. And it's on quote unquote Indian land. And we don't care. We just want them to come on board to see what we can come up with to work together. Make it make sense, really. So we already know about that. We already know about the broader footprint of Syngenta. And if you don't, let me let you know that Syngenta operates in over 20 states across the United States, conducting seed and crop protection research. Despite its Chinese ownership, Syngenta has worked with United States farmers and researchers for decades under its original Swiss identity. Now, is it no wonder that everybody is walking around sick? Is it no wonder that as soon as I eat any popcorn, I begin to sneeze unless it's organically grown, and that package that I'm able to get is now dwindling, where I'm not able to get it where it's really healthy all the time anymore? I'm starting to sneeze even when I get that popcorn. Is it no wonder why we're having health challenges and issues when we continue to call them our enemy, and yet we're still eating food that they're, trying to play and figure out how they're going to do things with us here on our land, in our country. They're doing all these types of things. It says post the acquisition by Chem China, which was the Swiss company, post the acquisition by Chem China in 2017, scrutiny increased regarding its operations and land holdings in the United States. Other states, including Florida, Virginia, Texas, have begun reviewing foreign agricultural ownership, including Syngenta's land deals, amid a growing bipartisan support for restrictions. Now, there is a little bit of contradictory, as far as I'm concerned, with U.S. and China agricultural trade dynamics. In June of 2025, China approved 106 U.S. meat and poultry processing plants to export to China. So they'll take food from us and they're allowing us to send it to them. 83 of those were poultry plants. This approval came despite active Chinese tariffs on $21+ billion in U.S. agricultural goods, up to 15%. The United States continues exporting meat, especially chicken and pork, to China under the trade arrangements that were made not recently, but back in 2020. So this occurs while U.S. lawmakers for tighter restrictions on Chinese involvement in United States agricultural infrastructure party, as it were, is handling itself. It's over here doing its own thing, right? Now, I wanted to bring that portion up to you because agriculture, seeds, all of that has something to do with each other. But we're going to go into the Chinese tied mining deals in just a few minutes. But I want to hear what else was going on there in Arkansas, because again, I've applauded everything that they've done there. We do have another story that we can cover that's going to be dealing with where they are now in Arkansas, because they just did something recently as it relates to Syngenta. Don't forget, the original press conference you're looking at started in 2023. So let's listen to what else they have to say, and then we'll be right back.
Good morning, everybody. Wes Ward from the Arkansas Department of Agriculture, and the governor and the attorney general have covered pretty thoroughly what's happening today. And so I just want to take a quick moment to echo that, and just the importance of Arkansas agriculture, our state's largest industry, and the connection to our national security. So certainly every event that we've had with the governor, with Governor Sanders, on a broad range of agricultural topics, she always starts at the beginning of every time that she has had an ag event, the connection between agriculture and our national security. So it is top of mind, obviously, for her, for us at the Department of Agriculture. So we certainly appreciate your leadership, Governor, the Attorney General, and to the members of the state legislature for your partnership and this important topic. So we'll just echo again the importance of agriculture here in the state of Arkansas, the connection to our national security. The case is pretty clear. We've done a thorough review, and we know that there are questions about foreign ownership of agricultural land throughout the United States. We're working actively to make sure that those questions are answered, and that we continue to protect our state's largest industry, as well as our security, both in Arkansas and across the country. And today, with the governor's help, we're sending a pretty strong message of how important that is, and that what will be prohibited in the state of Arkansas.
So it makes you want to ask the question, who's mining the store? That's something I always say here. Who's mining the store? If all of these things are being allowed in our country, do we really have an enemy? Has America truly lost that much control where we don't know whose land, what are we talking about when we get in front of cameras and we start to say, we want America first, we want all these things. What are we really saying? Now let's look at this right here, because this next article that I'm going to share with you is one that does concern me, should concern all of us, but it definitely concerns me. So let's see here. This is going to be going away. I don't know what that is. Look like some garbage. So back in, let's see, this article is May. All right, so listen. And we just had another one, but it had a Google thingy that jumped all on it. Looked like one of those Duma flickums. What are they called? Those, who knows? There it is. It's in the Washington Post. There we go. All right. So the article that I'm reading for you today, that I'll be digging in and out of some Washington Times. So President Trump vowed to combat Chinese control of U.S. land and minerals, yet the administration is pursuing a deal to open up the federal land in Arizona to a mining company linked to China. Now, it's not just any land. It's not just any land, because there's another article that talks about the fact that this land belongs to some nice Indian folk. And I didn't think we could let anything go on their land, but let's go ahead and take a look at both of these articles, shall we? So that way you know exactly what it is that we're talking about. I'm going to give you this one. Let's start with the older one first. All right. You should be able to see that without this. All right. So, carrying eagle feathers and chanting prayers, the Western Apache hit the road on a roughly 80-mile journey this month, and that was May, to save their sacred land from being fast-tracked by President Donald Trump into a copper mine. This nationally watched battle, which hinges on religious freedoms, awaits the Supreme Court. The prayer run amid to define a 6 square. It was a prayer run aimed to defend a 6 square mile piece of land in rural Arizona outside of Phoenix called Chichil Bildogatil. Don't know if that's right. Don't know if it's wrong. Oops. Or Oak Flat, where the tribes have held ceremonies for centuries. The United States Forest Service, which owns the site, plans to trade a portion of it into a foreign-owned mining company Resolution Copper in exchange for other environmental sensitive properties. The battle over Oak Flat tracks back 30 years when prospectors found a massive copper deposit beneath the ground. How come everything that's on our land we got to give to China? Because they got a whole bunch of cobalt from here. I mean, I wish I had just put all the minerals that they have that are here on our land that they just come and siphon and hobble their tails right on back home. Well, anyway, they're beneath the ground, and the proposed land swap, which Congress approved in 2014 through a defense spending bill, has been stalled by 3 lawsuits. Now let's go and pan forward to this one right now. Let's just pan forward to this article because this is the one that really sent me. You guys keep that one. I'll go ahead and read over here. So now again, let's go ahead and recap. President Trump vowed to combat Chinese control of the United States land and minerals, yet the administration is pursuing a deal to open up federal land in Arizona to a mining company linked to China. Under the deal, the Resolution Copper would take control of Oak Flat, a 2,200-acre area of the Tonto National Forest near Superior, Arizona, in exchange for private lands in the United States owned by the foreign mining giant. Resolution Copper would then turn Oak Flat into a giant copper mine, which the Trump administration says could supply as much as a quarter of the United States demand for copper. The deal, however, raises national security alarms. Now, why is it that your old press secretary back in 2023 had enough common sense to put those cats out, but you can't see where this would raise a security alarm? Nonetheless, Resolution Copper is a venture between 2 multinational mining companies, Rio Tinto and BHP. Rio Tinto's largest shareholder is Chinalco. Lord have mercy. A Chinese state-owned company that owns roughly 15% of the company. That's a lot. That's not a small amount. Okay? A loophole in the deal, critics say, allows Resolution Copper to send unrefined copper overseas for processing and sale that would put China in a position to import 40 billion pounds of American unrefined copper worth more than $160 billion. It is somewhat surprising that the Trump administration would endorse the transfer, given its recent effort to combat Beijing's footprint in the United States. Don't you agree? I think I agree. Rio Tinto disputes any fears that the deal would raise any national security alarms. A spokesperson for the company noted that it has purchased 2 previous assets in the United States and both times cleared reviews by the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, which is responsible for reviewing deals for national security concerns. The spokesperson also pointed out that British and United States investors also hold significant shares in Rio Tinto, which is really where the thing bounces around in my head. That's exactly who this is. That's exactly what's going on. It's about how many of you guys can just go on ahead and, get this amount of stocks, and there's a reason why it's nobody really worth their salt when it comes to fighting to get this kind of stuff out of the question. We would be a very wealthy nation if we dealt with everything inside of our country. If we just stop with all this hands across the world trash and stop with making everybody our enemy and then getting into bed with them. It's like a bad relationship. Trust me, been there, done that. This is like a bad relationship. Everybody that this country says they don't like, they get into bed, okay? They break the backboard, all right? They tear up the frame. They just be rumbling all in that bad booger. But look and see what happens afterwards. The only people who literally screwed after they've been rumbling in the jungle in the bedroom is us. We're it. Nobody else. There is absolutely no reason, and nobody can. Please don't start with the text messages, and don't start with the emails, and don't you start with all of that trying to cajole me to see things this way. See, there's no way that I'm going to see us being double-minded. A double-minded individual is unstable in all their ways, and that goes double for a country. So there's no way you're going to tell me that us giving away all of this, get the land, do that, do this, give up all of our cobalt and all of the things that it takes to make us what he's trying to push now, what our government is trying to push now is this whole, we are the leaders of AI, not, but everything that we're doing, including making iPhones here in the United States. This stuff is aesthetically, it may appear pleasing, but the infrastructure, how you gonna do it, baby? How you gonna do it? How you gonna do any of the things you plan on doing? You want to be number one in everything. What you need to do is clean around your own front door. If you pay attention to your front door and clean that bad booger, after you're done sweeping it, take that water hose and wash it all down. Take you some Clorox after that and move that big broom around with that Clorox. Get all your crap together, and then start to build from where you are. Get our agriculture back. Get our fruits and vegetables back. Close out all of this stuff that you're doing. You got out of TPP and then run right back into something with China, with Canada and Mexico when you got in last time. And yeah, I'm talking to Trump. Okay, big deal. Yeah, I am. You got right out of the TPP and then went right into something else that looked just like TPP. We need to quit with the looking good and clean this place up. I would feel much better if you just hushed and start to work. Hit the ground running. Hit the ground running and do your thing. Get us together, because this right here is crazy. The spokesperson also pointed out that British and U.S. investors also hold significant shares in Rio Tinto. Well, that ought to make us feel real good. And here's a quote. Rio Tinto has been operating in the United States for over 150 years and has been providing the country with domestically mined copper for over 120 years. And in the past 2 years, the Committee on Foreign Investments in the United States has reviewed its multi-billion-dollar investments in the country's critical mining mineral sector twice and cleared these investments in aluminum and lithium. This comes from Vicky Pesci, a spokesperson for the company, adding that the company's goal is to process the ore domestically. Last month, the Agricultural Department announced a 7-point plan to limit Chinese purchases of American farmland. But wait till you hear how much they got already. This is a ship. I shouldn't even say a ship. This is a train that's got a whole bunch of cars on it, and it's going on a decline. And before it gets to the bottom, the conductor just might pull that lever, the emergency brake. Before it gets to that bottom, he just might pull it, which means every car that's behind him is going to be on top of him and above and beyond. It's going to be over with. This is a bunch of words. The bottom line, which is what I really wish we could get somebody in here who can just give us the bottom line and do their thing. It's time out for all of this BS. I think Democrats and I think Republicans and I think Greenpeace and I think anybody needs to be upset that this is how our government is. Please, everybody, stop with the sides. Stop. There's no reason for us to have all this going on. It's just no reason. No reason. Last month, the Agriculture Department announced a 7-point plan, all the points, to limit Chinese purchases of American farmland while Trump is seeking a U.S. buyer for TikTok. The administration has cited national security concerns for both efforts. Mr. Trump, I don't like when they call presidents Mr., but anyway, Mr. Trump has sought precious metals in virtually all of his trade deals. Copper is among the most valuable critical mineral with the applications in the electronics, construction, and medical equipment. America is currently facing a copper crisis as demand for metal surges faster than you can refine it. Why can't we trust and deal with ourselves? I don't believe that we're that inept. I won't believe that. I believe that if you get on the news every night and you tell us we don't have it, we are not who we can be, we're not all of that. If you just close the doors and let us fix our house, if you just close the door and go to your house right now, I guarantee you that room that's got all the junk in it, you'd be able to work it out if you just started just by category cleaning. Get in there and category clean that room. Pull all the old stuff out, set it to the side, put all the trash over here and throw it out. Immediately take the bags out. Take all the clothings and the clothes and line it up. Okay, we're keeping this. This is definitely garbage. Put it in the garbage. Get the garbage out the house. Category clean this country. It needs to be cleaned up in a category fashion because we're going to be completely out of here. If you think the eagle ain't seen nowhere, it ain't seen nowhere in the end. But I would love to see us have a little bit of quality of life before that part hit. Okay? Make it hit a little bit different when you understand that eagle ain't nowhere to be seen. You work on that. If you don't understand what I'm trying to say, you're going to have to work on that one. All right, so the U.S. farmland that's owned by Chinese interests. As of 2023, the USDA reports that Chinese entities own between 277,000 and 300,000 of acres of U.S. agricultural land. Just let that sit right there. Is it in there? Is the hamster roaming around on the wheel like mine is? He's up there. That's the noise he's making right now because I can't comprehend. A large portion of the land is tied to the 2013 acquisition of Smithfield Foods by the WH Group. What do they do? Smithfield. Oh, I don't eat pork anyway. Big deal whether you eat it or not. It's in our country and it's owned by the Chinese. It's a Chinese firm. The total acreage represents less than 0.05 of all U.S. farmland. Big deal. It's still 277,000 to 300,000 acres. And it says that it's a statistically small yet symbolic significant amount. That was in 2023. Biden left just not long ago. How much do you think they own now? Something to think about. The new restrictions and bans on foreign farmland ownership are now emerging years after many of these purchases were completed. How are they going to, is the damage done? That's the question I want to ask you. Is the damage already done, regardless of how many years ago this was? And now we're trying to backpedal and get everybody out. We let 1 billion people in, or however many million it was. Now we're trying to backpedal out and use our resources to get them all out. Do you see how asinine this stuff is? It's a game. All of it's a game. Strategic minerals, fast-track projects, and backdoor deals are the Trump administration announced the plan to fast-track 10 additional critical mining projects across the United States, framed as a push for domestic energy independence and reduce reliance on Chinese minerals. However, several of these fast-track projects involve companies with known Chinese partnerships or investors here in the United States. The mixed messaging is what I'm having a problem with. And it completely raised questions about the selective enforcement and the true nature of the American First policies that I'm continuously hearing it without any pause. I don't hear any pause on any of this stuff. Not a bit of it. Now, I'm not sure if you know this or not, but I'm going to go ahead and share it with you. All right, let me go ahead and give you some more info. With regards to the 106 meat and poultry processing plants that I shared with you, there were 83 of them were the poultry, and then we had the other 20 some odd, 20 however many was the ones that were for, I think it was 29 or something like that, which were the pork companies that they allow. So the context is this: the approval came despite ongoing Chinese tariffs of up to 15% on $21 billion worth of U.S. agricultural goods. The implication, while political rhetoric in the United States focused on decoupling from China, this move showed continued agricultural trade, especially in poultry, under agreements originally signed during the Trump era Phase 1 trade deal in 2020. The U.S. The results are that the U.S. companies are profiting from Chinese demand for meat, which is okay. All right, no problem. You want our meat? Take our meat. You can have our meat. Even as national security concerns dominate the conversation about Chinese ownership and investment in American agriculture. Hmm. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. So we have some Chinese ownership, like I said, and it is concerning. But here's another thing that we do as America. What we do, whether you know it or not, every time you go eat some of those little nuggets and all of that other stuff, what we do is America has our chicken that is created here, slaughtered here. All right. Then it goes to processing in China. Frozen processing, China. They do all that they're going to do to it in China, and then China imports it back here. So we export it to China, the breaded chicken and all that stuff. And then they do their magic, and then they send it back to us. So it's export, imported into China, and exported back and imported back here. Do you follow me? Are you understanding what I'm trying to share with you? Do you feel what I'm saying? That's what's going on with the chicken here in the United States. Why would it ever even have to leave? Why would it even ever have to leave? And how do we get to that place? Do you want to know how? I'll tell you. In 2013, the USDA quietly approved the import of fully cooked chicken products processed in China using poultry that was raised and slaughtered in the United States. That means that chicken grown as on U.S. farms is slaughtered and frozen in the United States, shipped to China where it's cooked and packaged. Then it's shipped back to the United States grocery shelves for Americans to consume and consumers to buy it. So it's for you to consume it, for you to eat it, and for you to buy it. I don't want to hear in the chat, I don't eat them anyway. I don't mess. That is not the point. I'm so really disgusted with all of us having this us for and no more mindset. You know what I'm saying? Don't you notice that a lot of us do that? It's us for and no more in my household. I don't care what happens. But here's the catcher. Here's the click. Here's the clincher about what I'm sharing with you right now is that the labels are not required to show this international round trip, because the USDA rules state that if the meat is originated in the United States, then it can still be labeled as such, even if it's cooked overseas. So why does it even matter? You know why? Because what they believe is that labor costs are cheaper in China, which makes this whole bizarre export-import party, the whole entire loop, odd. It raises concerns about food safety oversight. Now, do you know why we're having all of these? Oh, it's a recall. It's a recall. It's a recall. It's a company out of Los Angeles. It's a company out of this place. But what did it just get through saying? See, if the issue happens over there, you're not going to hear about it being over there. You're going to hear about it being over here. Why? Because the law just told you how they're allowed to label it. It raises questions about the food chain transparency, environmental impact of cross-Pacific shipping, and economic logic. Why not just keep the jobs here? How about that? How about that? Now, when we look at the biotech seeds, because that's something that we have to talk about, we have got to talk about the seeds. We've got to talk about the seeds because it is vitally important for us to know that there are companies that are like Syngenta, because we've got to go back, because this is all one. If you look at the thumbnail, you'll see it's all one. Okay. But the biotech seeds and the genetic patents, the real prize. So companies like Syngenta, Chinese owned, aren't just buying the farmland. They're owning the seed game through the patents on genetically modified organisms here. So if you buy the seed patents, you control the future harvest, even if the land is American. See how that works? Farmers must buy new seeds yearly due to licensing restrictions, making them dependent on foreign-owned biotech firms for survival. The United States Department of Agriculture has approved many of these patented seeds, which may contain DNA traits not required to be disclosed to consumers. So, what if this land grab is not about crops at all, but about controlling the code of your food supply? Think about that. Yeah. Well, China's agricultural tech surveillance push. Some foreign owned agricultural firms operating in the United States use AI drones and data driven soil analysis to improve their yields. But the question is, where is that data going? Did you hear what she just got through saying at the top of her conversation? Where's the data going, baby? Where's the data going? U.S. intelligence agencies have quietly warned that agricultural tech used by foreign companies could be no need for alarm here. It's not would or is, it's could be used, could be a surveillance gateway. It could be a surveillance gateway, given insight into crop vulnerabilities, water scarcity, and even food supply weakness. Homeland Security flagged concerns that AG tech espionage could rival traditional cyber warfare in the coming decade. Is it really just corn and soy after all? It's just corn. It's just soy, Felicia. It's just corn, baby. It's okay. It's just soy. Or is this a complete and utter topographic blueprint of our food's resilience? Now, there are foreign-owned processing plants and labor law loopholes. So I'm putting it all out here. So whatever you got to ask, I think we're going to answer them all. Okay. So the foreign-owned processing plants and labor law loopholes. Some foreign-owned or foreign-financed U.S. facilities use contracted third-party labor that skirts strict American labor rules. Investigations have shown underpayment, abusive hours, and even illegal child labor at some of these facilities tied to large AG corporations, not all Chinese owned, but relevant to this that we're sharing, okay? Dealing with the fact that these countries come in here and start doing things, but they can't do it alone because ain't nobody playing in your backyard, baby, that you did not know. You heard them, you seen them, you may have seen them peek in and didn't know they were still there, but you know when they coming in, you do. And in 2023, the Department of Labor found over 100 children working illegally in meatpacking facilities, some connected to contractors used by major processors. So while we argue about who owns the land and who's watching what's happening inside, why aren't we worried about that? All right. So Chinese food security first doctrine includes U.S. soil. Let me repeat that. Chinese food security first doctrine includes U.S. soil. China has a national policy called Grain Bags Held by Chinese Hands, which focuses on global control of food sources, not just domestic production. By owning supply chains overseas, including American farmland and processing contracts, China insulates itself from the global food shocks. It's a part of a global resilience strategy, meaning that while they're talking national security, while that's the conversation we have it, all right, they're thinking of other planetary security. They're thinking take care of themselves all around the United States, all around the world, all around every other country that'll let them in to do what they want to do. They don't have that much space when you consider how many human beings they have walking all over China. That is not a very it's not a very vacant area. You're not going to have as much farmland. They don't have that. They do have some, but not like we do. All right. All right. We here in America, we just treat our food like it's just a product, like it's something to do. The majority of the time, it's not even real food, but they treat it like a weapon because they know we'll eat darn near anything. Yeah. Yeah. They know that we'll eat darn near anything. But I promised you that I would talk about Smithers. I promised you that I would let you know about the little mosquito man, the man who likes all the bees and the mosquitoes and this stab the kids in the arms in Africa. Here's the deal. Bill Gates is the largest private farmland owner here in the United States. Yeah, he is. And as of 2021, he owned 275,000 acres of farmland across 8 states, more than any other individual in our country. His land portfolio includes regions used for potatoes, corn, soy, and rice, the crops that are deeply tied to the commercial food chain. His holdings are managed by a company called Cascade Investments, LLC, and purchases are often made through shell companies, including Red River Trust. While the politicians debate on Chinese farmland ownership, I want you to understand that a private individual with enormous influence over United States tech, healthcare, and policies owns more land than China. Let that sink in. That's the reason why I brought that up. Just let that sink in. You got every faction, and I always talk about this. I was talking to a good buddy of mine yesterday. I was like, you know what? You have the factions that are against Batman and Robin, right? That's exactly what we're looking at right now. You got this cat. He's like the Riddler. And then you got the other cat that we were just talking about, China. Okay, they can be the Joker. Every one of these factions all equal Pinky in the brain. Somebody trying to take over the world via United States. Weaknesses. Now, Bill Gates did fund. Here's where your girl is going. Here's where I'm going. Bill Gates funded and partnered with, anybody? Syngenta, the Chinese-owned seed giant that we were talking about at the very top of the podcast. The one that Sarah Huckabee Sanders said, get out to. Yeah. So Bill Gates partnered with Syngenta, the Chinese-owned seed giant. Bill Gates and Melinda Gates Foundation has directly partnered with Syngenta, the company that Governor Huckabee gave the heave-ho to in Arkansas. On multiple projects, they have worked together related to genetically modified crops, agricultural R&D, and climate smart farming in Africa and Asia. Gates Foundation has historically supported GMO and synthetic fertilizer usage. Ew, can you imagine? We're eating trash, just paper and plastic. That's basically what we're eating. It says frequently collaborating with Syngenta. Oh, Lord. Frequently collaborating with Syngenta, Monsanto, and Cargill to push modern AG technology in the global South. These partnerships were pitched as humanitarian efforts, but critics argue it promotes corporate control of seeds and reduces the sovereign food independence in developing nations. Okay? It's the same Syngenta, is now under a new name, Kim China. That's the same one that was booted out of Arkansas. Yep. Syngenta and Gates-backed research institutions have collaborated on climate resilience seeds and digital farming tech, which are touted as solutions to climate change. But critics say that pushes small farmers into tech dependency and creates a monopoly over the global food chain. These climate seeds projects are involved AI data modeling, often involve AI data modeling, satellite-based planting suggestions, and even CRISPR genetic editing. You know CRISPR. I know you know CRISPR. If you've been following this channel, you know CRISPR. So basically, I guess in conclusion, if you control the land and you control the seeds and you control the supply chain, Do you still need to own the farm? If you got all of that going on, do you still need to own the farm? It's a good question, wouldn't you say? If you got all of that, who needs the farm? Who? Who? You? Hmm. Well, folks, I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. But I just want to let you know that these are the kinds of things that keep me up at night, that have that little hamster around in my brain. I want to thank each and every one of y'all for hanging out with us for about the past 10 minutes. Before we go, I'm going to give my friend some, because I got to have him hooked up. And I'm going to be right back. This time it's not going to be peace and out. Let me go ahead and let you guys have some. Hey everyone, it's me, Felicia, of the Lockhart Perspective and Headlines with a Voice. I want to tell you a little secret. This is what I used to do, because I don't do it anymore. I would go to the store, buy the barbecue sauce, pour it inside of a bowl, put a whole bunch of different spices, a dash of brown sugar, a dash of maple, and a dash of mustard, stir it all around, and everybody would be like, oh my gosh, this is the best, this is the best. But I was exhausted after all of that, and a lot of times I couldn't remember how many dashes of what I put in it. But I don't have to do that anymore, because now I just go to Judge Joe Brown's website and I order his 3-pack of bottled barbecue sauce. It is by far the best, and I do mean the best barbecue sauce I've ever eaten. And when you go to his website and you order his 3-pack, you'll see exactly what I mean. Head on over to jjbbbbq.com and order Judge Joe Brown's barbecue sauce. You'll be glad you did, and you're going to tell me about it. I know you will. Well, I want to tell everybody, hey, Charlie Sigler, mwah, Cheyenne, mwah, hello, Watchman, mwah, Sandman, everybody, Michael Powell. Hey, let me sing everybody's name. No, I'm not going to go back like I used to. Y'all remember I used to sing everybody's name? Oh, WCMWN Fab. Hey, of course, Daryl. Hey, Carrie. How you doing? Carrie Richardson, Alan. Good to see you. And again, everybody who is listening, because you may be working in a shop, you may be building a helicopter, you may be building an airplane, you might be working out at someplace, doing hair or whatever it is you're doing. I want to thank you right now for sharing your last hour with us here at the Lockhart Perspective Podcast. These things are the things that really do concern me, because I don't see enough being done to protect us as a country. I hear a lot of rhetoric. I see a lot of things that are meant to give you this verbose, overtone of what somebody plans to do. But when I can look and I can see all of these states that have countries that are from out of our country infiltrating the land and putting down blueprints of seeds and things like that, it really becomes disheartening, because it's making you wonder who has control of America. Have we lost control? Can we ever get control? That's the question that I want to ask you. If you're watching in the replay, and if you're here watching, I want you to go into the comments and let me know what you think. Do you think we can ever regain control? And then I want you to tell me, what does that look like? What does regaining control look like? Isn't it amazing how we go into every other country and we do all these things, and these things are happening here? So it makes you wonder, if we're going to other countries and doing the same thing that we're allowing other countries to do here, who's really in control here? Something to think about. Think about that. Think about that. Watchman, what are you talking about? The writings of Paul, baby. We're talking about, has America lost control? And baby, you over here talking about Roy Potter openly denying the writings of Paul. If you believe in the writings of Paul, that's fine. But I think you need to take that over to his Twitter page, not over here in our chat, because we're not talking about that right now. I want you guys to go down below in the comments on this video, and I want you all to please tell me the answers. that you guys think are important as it relates to this topic, because it's not just this. There are so many other things. I mentioned to you the minerals. Wait until you hear about the mineral situation. I remember when I started digging into the minerals, that's how I mentioned about the cobalt so long ago that I couldn't believe that we're doing this. So my question is, who's really, if this country is using and going to other countries doing what is going on here, selling it all part and parcel, doesn't that tell you that it's not us, that somebody else is running the show? Because how could you allow something like this if you were tight? You're not going to do this in Russia. You're not going to do this in Russia. You're not going to do this in Mexico unless, of course, you crack it up laughing at the people who went over there to Calexico years ago. I remember they went over into the bordering portion, the bordering town of, I think it was right there on the border of Mexico and the United States, or California, I should say, more specifically. And what they ended up doing was building these big lavish houses. And according to what I remember reading years ago, the government there in Mexico allowed them to. They put all these beautiful big houses up. And the fun part about it is, after they were done putting the last house up with the last little shingle, the Mexican government said, okay, get out. You didn't have any permits. This isn't yours. You can't do it. Now, I don't remember exactly how the story went, but what I do remember was those people went over there thinking that they could build their houses, and they did, spent their money. And on that last day, after everything was done, they kicked them out. That's what I do know. All right. Roy Potter was brought up. That's why I responded. Baby. If you want, look here, we're going to have a conversation about Paul, okay? Because I don't like Paul either. I don't know whether you know that. And I don't know whether you watch me. And I don't know whether you follow my work. But I don't kick it with Paul. Too many indiscrepancies, too many mismatch things are going on there, Watchman. Yeah, there's too many things going on with your cat. How do your boy go over here and listen to everything that's supposed to be right, and then he come and tell them to do the opposite? You either for one individual or you're not. You're either living for one individual or you're not. You don't want to get into it with me and Paul. Because see, I don't have that kind of nice regard. I'll just give you the words and let you read it on your own. I'll give you the scriptures and let you see it on your own. I don't care who likes the way I believe or not. But every time I see you, you be trying to get at my brother. Every time I see you, Watchman, you trying to get at Roy. Every time I see you. But if you really call yourself the Watchman, then you owe it to yourself to take the opportunity to really honestly look at exactly. He plays both sides of the fence. And while he's playing both sides of the fence, he's doing it so strategically. You see, that's the reason why he couldn't kick it with Peter. That's the reason why. I don't care about none of the scriptures that you're using, baby, because unless you come up here and we're talking face to face, or we're, on the same platform together, ain't nothing you can tell me. But I can teach you a few things. I can teach you a few things. I can teach you a few things. Yeah, that part. And we're not gonna do it over here, though. We're gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it cordial, Watchman. We're gonna keep it cordial. Because if you think that Paul was some great guy, listen, you got duality going on. You got two different situations happening at the same time. You heard him talk about, so you denied a canonized Bible and approved of removing scripture. Now, player, it just sounds like you Catholic and you don't want to admit it. But it's all good. You can be Catholic. I don't mind that you're Catholic. Ain't nothing wrong with being Catholic. I know I have some pretty good friends that are Catholics. Trust me, baby, this is not what you want. So now you're mocking the Bible? No, just the Catholics. No, just the Vatican. No, just Rome. Because at the end of the day, all roads lead to Rome, booger. All of them lead to Rome. Everything, even your existence. It's all about Rome. I am so far from Catholic, it's not even funny. You're Catholic. Because you're sitting up here fighting for a King James. Who was King James, baby? What did he do for a living? And moreover, what did he do on the side? What did he do in his spare time? Who did he do in his spare time? Who did he do in his spare time? That's the question. Who did he do? What book did he write before he was hired to pen the Bible and put it all together? Just a question. Was it something about demons or something? I mean, did he write that book? I mean, just asking. Just asking, Watchmen. Just asking. Baby, get it together. This ain't what you want. Trust and believe. This ain't what you want. This right here, you might be able to hang with Roy and him being very cordial, but this right here ain't what you want, because if you cannot see through Paul, then I already know you can't hang. If you can't see, the writing is literally on the wall where Paul is concerned. They're speaking about him. So if anybody bring you some stuff that you know doggone good and well, and I'm paraphrasing, if there's any man that brings you anything that I did not say, that you know I did not say, that man is a liar. Ow, ooh, she don't just do the news, boo-boo. You guys take care of one another. And remember what I always say, that if you really, really, really want to take care of anybody in your presence, take care of yourself first, because there ain't nobody else that's going to do it for you. Trust and believe. Trust me and believe me when I say it. Then after you're done taking care of yourself, you can reach around and take care of somebody else. All right? All right. Peace. To receive instant notification each time I upload, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification.
Helping you along the way, helping you to make it through another day.